Hi all, Katie here from Cards by Katie Creations. I'm going to do something a little bit different this time around. In the past, all my YouTube videos have been Copic speed coloring, and so I thought I would maybe try to talk this time and explain a little bit of what I'm doing. So I'm going to be coloring up Fairy Magic. She is available in a clear stamp from Some Odd Girl. I have this card on my blog and I got quite a few comments on it, so I thought it would be a good first one to do a video on. So I'm going to do skin in this video, and then I'll do a separate one for hair and a separate one for the clothes and the flowers in her hair. So for skin, I'm going to be using E quadruple 0, E triple 0, E double 0, E11. And for the cheeks, I'm going to use R21 and R30. And then for my darkest shadows, I'm going to go in with BB34. Now, I tend to work like my mid-tone or dark tone to light. It kind of just depends. For this one, just because of the amount of space on her face, I'm actually going to start with my E11. And I'm going to make my light source come from kind of the top right. So a lot of the shadows are going to be on this side of her face and her body. So I'm just going to start by just roughly kind of mapping in where those are going to be. Some in here from the flowers. I'm going to actually go ahead and put in a little bit of definition for her face right there and her ear. And then even though the light source is coming from this angle, because her hair is lying on her face, it's kind of putting it into shadow there. Tilt this a little. And also her knee is going to be creating a little bit of a shadow on her face as well. And I think I'll just lightly kind of put the nose in there. I try not to go all the way with it right away, just because I might want to change kind of how it looks as I go in and blend. So now I'm going to take my E00, and I'm just going to do a little bit of shading in there with the E11 that I laid down. Sometimes I do the little circles, sometimes I just kind of do like a little smudging motion, sometimes I flick. It kind of just depends. I honestly don't think about it that hard. It's just whatever tends to happen. I don't really pay much attention to it, honestly. That's kind of funny. A little bit in there from her mouth. And I'm going to go ahead and take in my R21 and get that cheek color in there. And I really just kind of go from where the side of the face would be and flick that in a little bit on both sides. And then I'm going to take my R30 and I'm just going to go ahead and blend that out a little bit. That'll also happen as I bring my other face colors in, but I don't know, I'm weird about blending. I never want there to be an actual line there, so I tend to do a lot of that. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring in my BB34, which is going to be my darkest shadows. I get a lot of questions about how I use this. Really sparingly, but I'm just going to take it along the side where those shadows are going to be the deepest, or where there's cast shadows like from the flowers. There's going to be just a little bit there on the inside of her ear. I say sparingly because this is kind of a deep bluish purple. So if you put too much down, especially in a smaller area, maybe when the face is a lot smaller, you have to be a lot more careful, because you can end up with kind of an ashy look to the whole thing. I've actually done that before and had to start over, so I'm pretty conscious of it. And this is actually kind of that, when I put in the E11, that kind of gave me a roadmap for where I wanted to put this. And then I am going to go ahead and put just a little bit there for that facial definition. I like Some Odd Girl stamps because you get to play with that a lot. So I'm going to come right back in really quickly with my E11 and just kind of get an added layer of skin color over the top of that BB color. Smooth it out. A lot of times I get comments that it looks like the skin is glowing, and I think this BB34 is a huge reason as to why I kind of get that effect. Get things kind of nice and dark. In those shadows. And then when you pull in the lighter colors, it's a lot more noticeable. Do a little bit of definition around her eyes now. And then to keep the whole thing from turning too orangey, instead of going in with my E00, I'm actually going to come in and blend out that with my E000. My places that are mostly in the shadow, I'm going to go ahead and do the whole thing. And the rest, I'm just going to start working my way in a little bit more. Actually laying down some of that overall face color that we're going to end up with. Put them there around her eye. So now I'm going to come in with my E00. And I'm going to pull some of that color in a little bit further now. By now my paper's good and saturated, which is awesome. Because again, that's going to help a lot with the blend. Which, like I said, I'm kind of funny about. Well, maybe everybody is. And just right in there with the nose again. And I think I'm going to actually pull in my E11 again. Go back over some of those areas that I want to be just a little bit more defined as far as the shadows are concerned. I'm using my Copic Express It cardstock. I use a couple of different papers, but I really like how many layers I can get. I know sometimes people think it takes more to blend it out, but actually that's kind of why I like it. Because I tend to like to do a lot of layers for my blending. And this lets me do that without oversaturating the paper and without the color laying on the top too much. So that was my E00, and now I'm going to come back in with my E000. And actually working a little bit further in than I had previously. Get a little bit more coverage on there. And then I'm going to pull in my quadruple 0, and the rest of these places that I really want to be the lightest, give a nice good coat there. And then just to make sure that that doesn't wash things out too terribly much, I'm going to come back in with my E000, kind of pull some more color forward. And that. And see, this is kind of bothering me a little bit. So this is my E quadruple 0. It's a little stark. So I'm just going in again and blending that out a little bit. And I'm going to take my E00 and just flick just slightly in there again. Into those shadowed places. Now a lot of times I'll just double check and make sure that the cheeks haven't disappeared too much. I'm pretty okay with them. They look pretty good. I'm going to bring my E11 in, and some of these areas where the BB34 has kind of gotten a little bit washed out. We'll just do another run there. Again, being a little bit more careful this time not to lay down too much, just because I don't want her skin to get overly orange. I do like the ease to do skin, but sometimes that's something that you have to watch out for. And then I'm going to take my E000 and just make sure I didn't end up with any lines there. I'm adding that E11 in. Now, most of the time, that would be good for me, but because this is a bigger space, her face, the image is bigger and there's a lot more skin, I'm going to take my BB34. I'm actually going to come back in just some of these really tight little areas, and I'm just going to kind of dab a little bit of that color, maybe not even do like a full line. I just want to really make that shadow pronounced. And since there is more space, I don't have to be as concerned with it than turning my image to ashy, like I had talked about. Maybe a little bit more here. Make the hairline just right in here. On that cheek. And Just a touch there. Since that's kind of a bigger area, I'm going to come back in with my 00. Blend that particular one out just a little bit. Maybe just right here with the 00 as well. Just a bit there. And then because I'm worried about my blending, take my E quadruple 0. Just do one more pass like that. So I'm going to say that I'm pretty happy with her face now. Sometimes I might go in there with my colorless blender and just do a little bit of touch up, like her eyes. There's a little bit that is that I went too far, and so I'll kind of clean that up a little bit. Now get to work on the rest of her body. And kind of just take a gander at this, maybe in her hand. Just a little bit more there on that side. Good with that. Alright. So I'm going to say that I'm good with that skin tone. So there you have it. I will be listing the colors in the description box below. And also I'll put a link to the completed card with this Fairy Magic stamp that's on my blog if you want to check that out in its entirety. And thank you for watching.